Hey everyone, I'm RRabbits, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a monster analysis on Tankerion. Tankerion is one of the first war machines ever created. You can say that it is the archetype of modern tanks. It is extremely resistant and it looks like a bunker. Because of this, the enemy team doesn't expect it to attack. So when it does hit, chaos. And so here we have Tankerion, one of the newest and latest artifact monsters. That's right, he has the trait Artifact. Artifacts are not alive, immune to all status effects. That means you can't really buff him and you can't debuff him. So he's an amazing monster to put on defense, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As of the time recording this video, there's a total of 30 metal legendary monsters, and so I'm going to be comparing Tankerion to those monsters. And so we start things off with a power of 3454, which you may be thinking is a pretty high power, but surprisingly enough in the metal category this is seen as rather low. A power like this actually puts Tankerion tied for 18th place along with monsters like Holter's Pet and Stinger S1, so it's rather low for a metal monster. But I would like to say that the power stat itself, the number 3454, this is actually the 8th highest stat. It's just that there are so many metal monsters that have a power of 3542, there's 2 that have 3575, and there's quite a bit with 3531, 3509, so don't get me wrong, this is a pretty high power, but just in the grand scheme of metal monsters, it appears to be rather low. But moving on over to his life, he has a life of 41,017, which actually makes him the metal monster with the highest life. That's right, he beats the previous monster Hercule by about 5,000 life points, so that is incredible. And furthermore, in the grand scheme of all of Monster Legends, when comparing every single legendary monster with one another, this monster now has the second highest life. That's right, this new monster was able to jump into second place. He's second only to Agursis, who beats him with around 1,500 points, and he was able to beat Oros by about 900 points, so a really tanky monster. But unfortunately, as is the case with really tanky monsters, this monster has a speed of 3,091, putting him in 28th place for metal monsters. He's only faster than Holter's Pet and Hercule, and even when comparing him to the top 3 legendary monsters in terms of life, he's at least faster than Agursis and Oros, so he does have that going for him. But yeah, 28th place in terms of metal monsters, not a really good speed. But I mean, look at this monster, he's a huge tank, how can you expect him to be any faster than what he is? And like I already mentioned, one good thing this monster does have going for him is his trait Artifact. That means you can't immobilize this monster. Sure, Oros and Agursis are nice, they're really tanky, and they have the mountain trait so they can't be stunned or frozen, but this monster takes it to a whole new level. He can't be mega stunned, you can't be hacked, you can't be corrupted, possessed, frozen, anything you can think of you can't do it to Tankerion. The best you can do is stamina drain, so that's the only way to immobilize this monster, and also cooldowns activated, which I'll get into a little bit more as to why this monster isn't as overpowered as everyone is making him out to be. But yeah, right now just looking at this monster's stats and trait, the fact that he has Artifact, a really tanky life, a pretty good power, and although he's not that fast, the fact that he can't be immobilized, that's a really nice touch. It truly does seem like this monster's overpowered. But let's go into the skills and then we can discuss that further. So really quickly, I just want to touch on the default skill, Thank You. I love the name, sorry, I just wanted to mention that. But moving on to the ultimate skill, Tank Former. Deals insane metal damage to all enemies, there's a chance that all targets will die instantly, what the heck? So this is an ultimate skill that deals 80 metal based damage to all of the enemy monsters and has an instant kill chance. So basically they decided, we're going to give this really tanky monster Oros' ability, but aside from that we're also going to make it deal 80 metal based damage to all of the enemy monsters. What the heck, this is an incredible ultimate attack. And keep in mind, I did say the only way to immobilize Tankerion is cooldowns activated or by using stamina drain. Well guess what, even if you get stamina drained, even if you get cooldowns activated, it doesn't matter. There's still a 5% chance for your ultimate to trigger, and if your ultimate does trigger, well, the enemy's in for quite a big surprise because they're going to take a lot of damage and there is that possibility, 50% chance to kill all of the enemy monsters. So I mean, I did mention this monster isn't as overpowered as everyone is making him out to be, but at the same time, just having this ultimate, I'm sure we've all encountered Oros where he kicked our butts with his ultimate with Global Stomp, so I don't know what to say, this is phenomenal, this is just insane. And now we're going to move into skills group 1, and before we actually start talking about the skills, I need to show you guys this. This is a post from Carlos. Carlos is a Monster Legends developer that is constantly on the forums, on the Monster Legends forums, so if you're not active there, I would consider you check it out. And so basically, he noticed that there's some discrepancies on the wiki concerning Tankerion's cost and cooldowns, and so he shared this little table showing us what the actual skill is going to do in terms of damage and the cooldown. And the first thing you notice is skills group 1, Induction Soldering. When I first saw this skill in this monster, I thought that is so overpowered, because even if you get hit with cooldowns activated, you'll at least heal yourself by 30% and you'll heal one of your allies by 30%. And can you imagine this monster with a 40k life? If you give him a high level life rune, he's always going to guarantee a 30% heal plus heal an ally. That is insane, if it had no cooldown anyhow. But according to Carlos, this is actually going to have a 2-turn cooldown. So this skill went from a must-have skill to a skill you shouldn't even consider running. Because let's face it, the fact of the matter is, if you ever put this monster on defense, all you need to do is bring a Tankerion. They're both in the metal category, cooldown's activated, and your Tankerion is pretty much useless. The best he can do is his ultimate attack, which again, it's still a 5% chance to activate, so it can work, but it's just like all of his skills will essentially become useless. And this is my main argument against to why this monster is overpowered. I don't think he's overpowered just because Tankerion exists and just because they're both in the metal category. If this monster was in a different elemental base, I'd say okay, he's kind of overpowered. But Tankerion, just the fact that Tankerion has cooldowns activated, and you're actually going to see every single skill this monster has some sort of cooldown, especially the really good skills, they have a high cooldown. So I'm already telling you guys, that is the main reason I'm saying he's not as overpowered as everyone is making him out to be. On paper, yeah, he has the amazing stats, the amazing trait, he has really great skills, but just with the fact that when you pair him up with a Tankerion in Team Wars, that's what you're going to face. If you put this monster on defense, and he is a defense monster, you're kind of out of luck, you're relying on the ultimate skill. Which isn't a bad strategy, because the longer this monster stays alive, the more turns he gets in. Since he can't be denied, there is a chance to trigger your ultimate. So he's not useless, but he's just not overpowered in my opinion. And with that said, because Induction Soldering now has a 2-turn cooldown, I really can't recommend it. And so now we can move on to Fiber Focused Soldering. Target heals by 50%, may give precision to ally, heals itself by 30%, requires cooldown. So this skill apparently is going to have a 4-turn cooldown, not a 2-turn cooldown, once again making it a lot worse, especially when you get hit with cooldowns activated. It only costs 29 stamina, that's pretty good. You heal an ally by 50%, I'm assuming you can even heal yourself, and you also get a self 30% heal, and you get increased accuracy to your ally, which again, I'm assuming you can do it to yourself, so essentially you can heal yourself by 80% and give yourself precision, or give one of your allies precision, heal them by 50%, and heal yourself by 30%. And what can I say, it's a pretty awesome skill because of the healing factor, and considering the whole purpose of this monster is to stay alive, this is definitely a skill you want to consider running. Next up is Knock Nevis. This skill deals heavy metal damage, main base target requires cooldown. So 50 metal based damage to a single enemy monster, 28 stamina cost, a 1-turn cooldown. Now according to Carlos's chart, the only actual difference is that instead of 28 stamina, it's going to be 30 stamina, so not a big deal. So metal based single attack that dazes, the 1-turn cooldown is the nice part, but other than the extremely low cooldown, it's not really that great of a skill. So moving on over to 45 tons per inch, deals moderate metal damage, may stun target, requires cooldown. Here we have a metal based attack that deals 45 damage, costs 28 stamina with a 2-turn cooldown, and it's a single stun skill. And once again, the major difference according to Carlos is that the stamina is not going to be 28 stamina, it's actually going to be 32 stamina, so not a major difference. And this is a skill you actually might want to consider running, because it gives your monster a chance to immobilize, and at the same time, the cooldown isn't too bad. It's still kind of bad, but it's not bad like some of the other skills I'm going to be talking about later on. And at least this skill does have some damage output. And with that said, moving on over to skills group 3, Active Soldering. Target heals by 100% and removes all negative side effects, heals itself by 30%, requires cooldown. And so according to Carlos, everything here is right except for the stamina cost. Yet again, it's actually going to be 38 instead of 29. And this skill, once again, on paper it's nice because you heal one of your allies by 100%, you heal yourself by 30, you also remove any debuffs your ally may have. But again, if this monster is on defense, you have to rely on the AI to use it correctly. Like, what if it starts off the very first turn using this skill and none of your monsters are damaged? It can potentially be a waste, and it has an extremely high cooldown. Most likely you'll only ever use this once, and again it's on defense, so the AI would most likely only use this once. But there are some benefits to this. Maybe you heal yourself and you were about to die, maybe you heal an ally that was about to die. The removing debuffs is nice, not on yourself because you'll never have a debuff. A skill you may want to consider running. It's really hard with this monster. Let's move on over to the next one, Bagger 288. So this skill deals very heavy metal damage, Mayday's target may apply damage reduction to target, requires cooldown. So here we have a skill that deals 65 damage, costs 34 stamina, and instead of a 2-turn cooldown, it's supposed to have a 3-turn cooldown, and it dazes in damage reduction. Now that's a pretty good effect. It reduces the damage output from the enemy monster, and it also reduces their accuracy by 25%, and it's also your strongest skill, 65 damage. If you put a strength rune on this monster, that increases the damage outputs. You're also going to put a life and a speed, I'm telling you guys right now. You're going with the rainbow build for him, so it's a pretty good skill you want to consider running. But again, the cooldown is just what kills it. A 3-turn cooldown, when you know you're going to face a Tankerion, if you put this monster on defense, that leaves them kind of useless in terms of skills. You really just have to rely on the ultimate attack. But anyway, let's talk about the last skill, 55 ton per inch. Deals heavy metal damage, may stun target, requires cooldown. Here we have a metal based attack that deals 55 damage, 31 stamina cost, and not a 2-turn cooldown, but a 4-turn cooldown. Actually, not even a 31 stamina cost, sorry, a 40 stamina cost. So this skill went from being pretty good, it's still good because it mega stuns, but now a 4-turn cooldown. But regardless, 2-turn cooldown, 4-turn cooldown, my main point is you're going to face a Tankerion, so this monster isn't that overpowered, unless you're talking about the ultimate skill, which is a pretty good plan. I mean, because most of the time when you put a monster on defense, the chances of you winning are slim to none. Most of the time the enemy runs an AoE denier, they AoE deny you, and you can't do anything. So at least this monster can't be denied. You can stamina drain, you can cooldowns activated, that doesn't matter, at least your ult still has a chance to trigger. So in that regard, he's still powerful because you at least have a chance to win. 5% chance is better than 0% chance, but at the same time, this monster really isn't going to be using any of his skills. Every single skill except his default skills, Tank You and Gadget Punch, those skills are the only ones with no cooldown. And what are you going to do with 25 and 35 damage? You're not going to be doing anything, so you really got to rely on Tank Former. And so it just really sucks that Induction Soldering went up to a 2-turn cooldown. If not, I would have said, hey, Tankerion is still awesome. You can spam this over and over even if you get hit with cooldowns activated. This is the main threat. If the enemy doesn't kill your Tankerion, they're risking getting global stomped, or I guess not called global stomped anymore. They're risking getting Tank Formered. So yeah, this monster could have been a huge threat. Because if you take into consideration a level 10 rune, let's just say his life goes to 80k, even if you were to get hit with the cooldowns activated, every single turn you were going to be recovering 24k life. That is phenomenal. And you can't put a DOT on this monster, you can't burn him, you can't ignition him, you can't bleed him, you can't do anything. So he had the potential to be really great, even when facing a Tankerion, but now that they added cooldowns to this monster, I think his usability decreased like somewhat significantly. But that's just my opinion. I'm really curious to hear about your guys' opinion. With that said, I should talk about my recommended skill set. It would be the Mega Stun, it would be the 65 damage skill, and it would probably be the 2 healing skills, Fiber Focus Soldering and Active Soldering. But if you want, you can even put Induction Soldering since it has the lowest cooldown, although I just prefer the benefits of Fiber Focus, you know, that increased accuracy to an ally, plus a 50% heal, that's pretty significant. And I love Active Soldering because it removes debuffs and it heals. I just really hate the cooldown. 6 turn is just ridiculous. But yeah, it's going to be those 2 healing skills, 55 ton per inch, and Bagger 288. And if you want, you could omit one of these skills, most likely Active Soldering, and instead just give him 45 tons per inch. That way he has a stun and a Mega Stun, and a 65 damage skill, and all 3 skills that deal damage. That way, for runes, you'd go 1 strength, 1 speed, and 1 life. That way you can take advantage of your strength rune. Considering this monster, if you don't face a Tankerion for whatever reason, he's at least going to be dealing some major damage while staying alive. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I don't see this monster being used that often for offensive purposes, just because he can't really offer much. You know, he's a tank, he's there to take damage, but he doesn't have any skills that make the damage go towards him or anything. He does have a Mega Stun, which is nice, but he's extremely slow, so you can't really utilize it without giving him at least 2 speed runes. So yeah, that's just going to be it. I think this monster had a lot of great potential, and don't get me wrong, just the fact that he has an ult, and given the fact that the only way to immobilize this monster is by draining his stamina or by doing cooldowns activated, that makes it so that the only way to rely on this monster is with Tank Former. So he's not utterly useless by any means, he's just lost a lot of usability because all of his other skills, they can't use them, you have a cooldown. And actually, when you take that into consideration that most likely you will get hit with cooldowns activated, maybe it actually is worth running Knock Nevius instead of one of your other skills, just because hey, at least you get that 50 damage punch in, right? At least you get to daze the enemy. So maybe just keep that in mind, forget my recommended skill set, figure out a way to use this skill, maybe just go with the low cooldown skills, because you gotta think about team wars, you gotta think about who is the most likely opponent you'll face. And if it's a meta war, you don't even have to think twice. You're gonna face a Tankerion, you're gonna get hit with cooldowns activated. So yeah, that's gonna be my opinion on this. It really sucks because even these 2 skills right here, they're gonna have a 1-turn cooldown. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, I was hyped about this monster at the very beginning, but as soon as I saw the Monster Legends forum and I saw Carlos post that and I saw the cooldowns and I was like 1-turn cooldown, 2-turn cooldown, 4-1, like what is going on? This monster isn't usable anymore just because Tankerion exists. So that is actually gonna wrap it up. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about Tankerion. Do you think he's still usable? Do you think he's not usable anymore? How do you think he compares to the other Metal Legendary monsters? Do you think Social Point might change their minds and give him some no cooldown skills? Because if they do, I'll totally do a whole new analysis and maybe he'll actually be more usable. But with that said, like I mentioned earlier, typically your monster will get denied anyways, so at least he has a chance to trigger the ult, so he's not necessarily that bad. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am so looking forward to a conversation on this monster, because right now I have really mixed emotions. I'm leaning towards the more sadness for this monster just because he had potential and now he has somewhat less potential. But yeah, I'm just blabbering, I'm saying everything over again. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.